Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are having a lovely Thursday. A very warm welcome along to the March edition of our VMG Microburst series, where we give you 30 minutes of CPD to teach you about a variety of topics to help you run your businesses, look after your people, and keep everything running smoothly. This month, I'm very pleased to be joined by, I'm just going to introduce them here, to be joined by Indy and Danny. They are from London and Zurich. And this month, we're going to be talking about direct debits, and particularly how we as practice managers, practice leaders, can use direct debits to help us manage our cash flow, get the bills paid, make sure everything is coming in as it should be. So, Indy, Danny, do you want to introduce yourself and just explain who London and Zurich are?
Indeed. Hi, everyone. I'm Danny. That's Indy. We're here today, as Hannah's already said, just to give you a bit of an overview, bite-sized kind of learning webinar, and help you understand some of the benefits of collecting payments through direct debit. And Indy will be looking to talk you through some of the key points of the system and the portal, and how simple it is to use and show you it in real time.
Lovely. Okay, so we're going to get a bit of information and a live demo as well. Danny, I believe you've got a screen to share, so I'm going to hand over to you guys to share your expertise.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. As I said, today really is just about giving you an overview of direct debit and hoping that you can learn some things about how it would help you in your practice. Some of you may already use direct debit, and if so, that's fine. And if not, also don't worry, it might help give you a starting point of how you can get things started. So ultimately, what I want to do really is just give you a bit of an overview about who London and Zurich are, why direct debit would be helpful for you guys, also looking at direct debit benefits, and as I said, for Indy to go through a portal walkthrough just to show you some of the key benefits and how it will help you guys. And if you've got any questions, that's fine. Hannah can obviously help field those, but also at the end, we'll put up Ben, my colleague's contact details. He's also in partnerships at London and Zurich, and he'll be happy to help after today as well. Okay, so who are London and Zurich? You may notice from our email addresses that it doesn't actually say London and Zurich on it. It says Jonas FinTech. So I thought it was just worth explaining initially how our group is structured. So Jonas FinTech is a group of 3 businesses called Paygate, London and Zurich, and Power2. And together we make up Jonas FinTech. And we process, as you can see, around 800,000 transactions a day as a business, 400 million pounds a day, and about 147 billion pounds a year. And that is made up of businesses of all sizes. So I'll come on to that a little bit later in the presentation. But we work with really small businesses like membership clubs that are collecting direct debit for just, football clubs, for example. Or we work with banks, councils, really large businesses collecting millions of pounds as well. So we're here to help all sizes of business, no matter what. Okay, so direct debit then. We obviously, we deal with businesses day in, day out, whether it's, like I said, banks, or it could be dental practices, vets practices, whoever it may be. But ultimately, we want to help you understand why it would benefit yourselves and your practices, and do the key things that you need to do. So getting paid on time every time. Cash flow is such an important thing for everybody. And ultimately, direct debit is designed to help improve your cash flow. So how does it do that? So direct debit is a bank-to-bank collection method. So what that basically means is that your customer signs a direct debit mandate, and all that does is authorize you to collect funds from their bank. So with direct debit, it's something called a pull. Not to be too technical with it, but basically all that means is that you are taking money from the customer's bank at the time that you want to take it, instead of the customer pushing the funds over to you guys. So for example, standing orders, a customer could pay you by standing order, and that would be a push method. So if a customer is paying on the first of the month and they forget, or they cancel the standing order, or they're just doing it by bank transfer, that leaves you guys expecting a certain amount on the first of the month and you don't get it. With direct debit, they sign that direct debit mandate and you set the direct debit up for the first of the month, and it means that you do get it without the customer having to do anything, because those funds are pulled from their account. So ultimately, what does that mean? It's putting you in control of when you're getting paid, and keeping your cash flow as expected, without any hiccups. So admin and saving time, ultimately we're all busy, whether you're a business, a parent, just, whatever it may be, life is very busy, and running a business is no different. So within your practice, when you're expecting payments, admin time is massive when you have to keep chasing things, because people like me have forgotten to make a payment one month or something, and it might not be, there might not be any malice within it, just simply have forgotten. So the average small business in the UK spends about 10 hours a week chasing late payments. And ultimately what direct debit is there to do is to eliminate that time chasing, because the payment is scheduled, it goes automatically, it comes back in automatically, it then gets paid to you automatically, and those funds are in your bank account without any intervention in the meantime. So if you and your practice could invest those hours back into your week doing things that are actually going to benefit you guys, then that would be fantastic. And ultimately, you'll not have to have those awkward conversations with the customers when they forget to pay or they haven't paid, because the direct debit will have come in and you've got the money as expected. Taking control. So direct debit is a really flexible payment method, and it's flexible in terms of how much you want to collect and how often. So you can have people paying weekly payments, you can have people paying monthly payments, one-off payments. It doesn't have to be a regular thing. They can be taken at different intervals for different amounts, which is great. So, like we mentioned earlier, if you're doing that push-based method where the customer's sending funds to you, you aren't in control with how much. So you can request an amount, but if they pay the wrong amount, that then increases your admin time again by having to go back and say, you have paid, but unfortunately it was the wrong amount, we still need this much, or they've paid too much and you need to refund them. With direct debit, you're in control of setting how much and when with the customer, and yeah, it gives you lots of flexibility and the control over it as well. So one-off and recurring payments, ultimately either or is fine with direct debit. I think traditionally people and businesses often used to think that it was more about just recurring payments, so the same amount every month on a set date. But actually direct debit's evolved a lot now. I know, with things like we pay by direct debit, whether it's your gas, your electric, your water, that tends to be a set amount every month. But within your practices, that may not be the case, and it might need to change. And that's absolutely fine. Like I said, you're not reliant on the customer having to remember to change it or increasing that payment for you. You haven't got to ask the customer to set up a new standing order for a different date. It's all in your hands. So obviously direct debit isn't just great for you guys, it's great for your customers as well in your practice. There's no needing to rely on your customer to remember things. It's all within your hands. Another good thing for your customers is that we handle, at London and Zurich, we handle the notices that need to go out to your customers as well. So when they sign up to direct debit, we send something called a welcome letter, and that just lets them know that they've been successful in signing up and welcomes them over to direct debit. Obviously tells them who they've signed up with, and then we also send them something called an advance notice. So that would let them know 3 working days before that first direct debit is due to go out. It will tell them how much we're taking and when we're going to be taking it. And obviously they're protected by the direct debit guarantee as well. So it protects them against any payments being made fraudulently. Obviously direct debit is an extremely safe method of payment in the UK. So it gives them that reassurance as well. So direct debit collection, as I've said, it's a really easy, straightforward method of collecting payments from your customers for the practice. Hopefully it's given you a little bit of a background on why, and just going to hopefully explain a little bit more about London and Zurich as well, to give you a bit of reassurance from that point of view. So London and Zurich are here to help you every step. We are a very personable business, and at the end of the day, the way things go these days, a lot of things are online, and you don't get to talk to a person. Whereas with ourselves, it is really all personable. We've got our customer service teams, people like myself and Indy, direct email addresses and contact numbers. So any support that you need, we're always here for you. We deal with, as it says, the paperwork, complexity, compliance. We're never going to put you in a position where we say, okay, you've got to deal with that with the bank. That's what we're here for, to support smaller businesses and practices like yourself, where this is something completely new to you guys. We want to take the stress away from you guys with it, and handle it on your behalf and with you. And like I said, it gives us the ability to work with smaller businesses where direct debit wouldn't have been available before for them, and now it is, and it's a massive benefit to you guys and to us that we get to do that with you. We are obviously regulated heavily through the FCA, and we're, from the bank's point of view, approved and accredited. So we have to keep up with our things every year and every month to make sure that we stay compliant. But again, that's not something we pass on to you guys. We handle all of that for you, so that you know that when your customers sign that direct debit guarantee, we're going to take care of everything. So in terms of direct debit, like I said, it's really easy to set up. You've got lots of flexibility of when you can take payments and how much. The cost of transactions, I think historically it used to be more expensive for smaller businesses, but now that's changed a lot and it's much more accessible. Card payments can be quite costly, and the transactions, it kind of makes it not always a viable method of payment to collect, because of the cost of it. Whereas I think now direct debit is much cheaper, so it allows it to be a much more cost-effective option for you. In terms of cash flow, so typically when a direct debit is collected, the money's in your account 2 working days later. So that helps cash flow for you guys. It keeps money coming in on a regular basis, to allow you to keep moving forward. Failure rates on direct debit are much lower as well. I think typically, card payments can fail more often, whereas with direct debit, the failure rate is much, much lower, which means ultimately, that you getting your money on time. I think it's the failure rate is less than 1% on direct debit. So that it's a secure method of payment, and also a reliable one as well. In terms of admin, because everything's so automated, if a customer is set up on a regular monthly payment, that there isn't any admin to do. Ultimately you can collect that money every single month. It's all done automatically and paid to you automatically. Lots of reporting and things available for you to keep track of it all your end. And it makes life easy for you, and cuts the admin right down. And security and customer protection, obviously, as I've said, ultimately we're heavily regulated. You've got the direct debit guarantee, which means that your customers have got peace of mind, as do you, and we keep things moving for you in a safe and secure way. So hopefully that's given a bit of an overview of direct debit and what we do. And I'm going to hand over to Indy, who's going to walk you through some key facts of the portal and some of the basic features and benefits, just to show you how it works, and hopefully, give you even more understanding on how direct debit can be helpful for your practice.
Indy, I think you're going to show us in real time how it works.
Yes, it won't let me share, unfortunately, at the moment. So I'm just trying to present. It was working before.
All right. While you're thinking about, can I just do a couple of quick questions? I think you've actually answered while Indy's sorting her tech out. A couple of questions you've already answered there, Danny. So one of the questions are coming: do direct debits have to be monthly?
So no, not at all. So there's the option to set them up weekly, bi-weekly, annually, monthly. You can just have one-off collections. So lots of flexibility with that.
Okay. Yep. Lovely. Straightforward one. You've literally just answered that one. So payment failure rate. So you've just said that's
less
very
than
below
1%.
1%. I think. I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. This one that I think you kind of mentioned, but perhaps just to doubly clarify, the difference between a direct debit and a standing order.
Yeah, so a standing order ultimately is something that a payer would set up directly from their bank account. So it relies, you as a vet practice have no control over that standing order. It solely sits within the customer's bank and they push the money to you. So similarly to if they were to do a bank transfer. So if you need the customer to pay £50, they can choose to just send you 30. There's no kind of control over that. Whereas with a direct debit, once the customer's signed a direct debit mandate, that authorises you as a practice to take money from their bank account. So with from London and Zurich's perspective, we have the portal where they can log into it. They can see a customer has signed a direct debit mandate, and then it's your control to then set up how much to collect and how often. And because the customer's authorised that payment from the account, you're then in control of how much you collect and when.
Lovely. Okay, thank you very much for clarifying. Right, I think Indy's got her demo up and running, so let's have a look at how it works.
Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through a few parts of the system that, if you do decide to come on board, that you will be seeing. So this is what you'll see when you first come on. Welcome to the Payment Services portal. This will give you like a brief snippet in regards to your turnover, so you can see very quickly how much you're turning over value-wise month by month via direct debit. I'm also now just going to show you very quickly how easy it is and pain-free to actually add a customer. So once you've got their direct debit authority, so you'd very simply just go to your customer section, you would click on add a new customer, and it will bring you to this lovely screen where you can add a customer. And it already has a red asterisk against every single mandatory field that you must populate before you can click on add customer at the bottom. So the first thing it asks for is a DDI reference. Don't be alarmed what DDI reference stands for. It just means direct debit instruction reference. So this is what your customer will see, or what anybody sees when they look at their direct debit on their bank accounts. They will see a mixture of numbers or letters, and that is just a direct debit reference that all providers like ourselves need to get a direct debit lodged. So I'm just going to pop in a random reference, which you have the ability to pop in any reference that you'd like to pop in for that customer. You then pop in their name. You then pop in the bank details that they've provided for you, that they've signed on the direct debit mandate that we will also provide to you. So that will all be fax approved. So you pop in all their bank details. The great thing about the system also is that when you're popping in bank details and when you click add, we have a little piece of software running in the background which does a modulus check. So it checks to make sure that the sort code and account numbers that have been inputted are correct. And if it's not correct, you will get a little alert saying modulus check failed. So you know you need to go back to your customer just to double check those details. I'm now just going to pop in the bank account name. So that's a name, the debit name that appears on your customer's bank account. It then asks for a contact name. Now you're probably thinking why we've got customer account name and also contact name. Sometimes our clients deal with businesses and they may want to put the business account name in the customer section and then the person of who they're contacting with in the contact name. So you do have that ability to put more than one contact on the account. So we'll pop in an email address. So the reason for the email address is, like Danny very clearly said, is just in regards to we're sending out the compliance documentation, the confirmation or the welcome letter and the advance notice, and these will all be sent automatically. We then just pop in a postcode, on find your address and then just choose the address. And once you've got all the information populated, as we can see there, we've already got an error, customer company number up to 10 characters. So that's totally optional. You don't need to put a company number in there. And then we just click add customer. So straight away, you can see now the status of this customer is now active and it's got a setup date of today. So instantly, as soon as you click add customer, that's now being added onto the system. And then you can then straight away move on to adding a direct debit ready for direct debit collection. And what you'll see is the system's really informative and really intuitive. As when you hover over the account, it will give you a brief synopsis of what those tabs mean and what you'll be viewing. So now I'm just going to click on collection schedules. And this is showing if there's any direct debits that you've got set in place for that customer. We haven't because it's a brand new customer. So we would now need to get that set up. And again, just with a few clicks, you go to add collection schedule and you have these options. So as Danny said, in regards to the flexibility, you've got all different types of options of how you can collect. You can just do a single collection, just once only. You can do regular collections where you're collecting every month on the same date, the same amount, or over a fixed period of months. You can also then do a single collection, then regular collections. And this is where the first month could be a different date or a different amount to the ongoing regular collection. So I'm just going to choose regular. And what you will see, the system will always show to you the earliest available date we can actually collect from your customer via direct debit. And if you don't want to collect on the 22nd, all you need to do is just click on the date and it brings up the calendar, and then you can choose any date that you'd like to collect from that customer. So I'm going to choose the 10th. You then pop in the amount that you'd like to collect. And the frequency, we've got a whole host of different frequencies. So you don't need to collect monthly from your customers. You can do it quarterly, biannually, annually, weekly, bi-weekly, and full weekly. All these options are available for you. You can also collect this amount over a fixed period of months. So if they had an invoice that needed to be settled over a period of months for a service you had provided, you could do a fixed payment schedule to collect over 9 months. And then once you click submit, we can now see that has been now set in place. So that's how quickly and easily you can set up a direct debit. You can also set up multiple direct debits for any one customer. So if you had some additional services that you wanted to collect on top of this $59.99, you could then go back to add a collection schedule. You can now do a single collection. You can choose either the same date. You can pop in the amount and then click submit. This payment is now being collected. And as you can see, it's just for a one-off payment. So that's the simplicity of adding a customer and adding a collection. We also have a whole host of reports. So we have reports where you can see what payments have failed. So you just pop in a date range. It will then bring up all the payments that have failed within that date range. It will give you your customer's name. It will give you their contact number. It will give you their email address. It will give you the date we received the failure notification from the bank and the reason why that payment's failed. We also have a help section at the top. So if you're ever unsure what that means, you can go to the help section. You can go to the failed collection reason codes, and it gives you what refer to pay means. So the payer's bank is not in a position to pay the direct debit. So there's just wasn't enough money in the bank account. We've also got reports to reconcile the monies of when you receive that lump sum into your bank account, which is this report payments. So again, you choose your date range. It will then bring up all the collections that have occurred within that date range. It gives you the date we've actually collected, the amount that we sent for collection, how much has failed in total, what we actually are going to credit into your business bank account, what day you're going to get that payment into your business bank account. And then if you need to reconcile that lump sum, you just click on that blue band, and it then gives you a whole list of all the customers that made up that total of £9,000. And it also gives you which customer's payment has failed, so you know which customer to give a call. So that's just a brief snippet in regards to what the system can provide for you. But there's a whole host of other reports, which if you do decide to come on board, we will give you the best training, the best support, and just the best time collecting direct debits.
Fantastic. That's really interesting, Indy. Thank you very much. I'm really interested to see that you can have multiple sort of collections per customer, because I think that's something that might be quite relevant for us in the vet sector. Quite often we find that we have clients that will have like a separate account for different pets, for example, or some people might have, they'll have an entire separate bank account. This is the horses' bills and this is for the dogs, kind of thing. So seriously, so that might be something. Or for a farm client, for example, they'll have the farm business account, but then they'll have the personal account that pays for the farm pets, kind of thing. So having that kind of setup, I think could be a useful one. Also interested about this I think it was you that said, Danny, average business spending 10 hours a week chasing payments. I'd be really interested to see what our kind of membership thinks about that, see if that's about accurate. I'm trying to think back to when I was in practice, that chasing up unpaid bills it did take up a chunk of time. And if you added it all up, because sometimes it's just a phone call here and an email there, kind of thing. If you added up all that time spent trying to chase up payments for work that's already been done, then
I think as well for the customers, if you add up, you know, how much time I spend having to make payments for dance club and this and that, and you know, I even said to the kids swimming the other day, why are you not on direct debit? Like, it drives me crazy. And I think we underestimate how payers feel as well. It takes a lot of our time to do that kind of stuff, and mental load of remembering to do it.
Absolutely, yes. Like I say, I get all sorts of things. I was like, hi, your bill for whatever it is due. We're going to take this much on X date, and you're just like, fine, great, don't have to think about it. But yeah, that's not. I mean, we were saying earlier before we came on air that a lot of practices, pretty most practices now, will have some form of healthcare plan where somebody can sign up for that specifically. But I don't think the use of direct debits for anything outside of that is particularly well known, or know that it was even possible to do. So I think, like you, Danny, said, I think most of us have this kind of idea that a direct debit is a monthly payment of a set amount that just carries on, and that was kind of the traditional, and that's what we think. But yeah, so it's really interesting to hear that there are other options that could be really useful to keep your cash flow running smoothly. Okay, so we are very nearly at our half an hour. I will just pop up as I think it was Danny said, if anybody would like any more information about direct debits, about London and Zurich service in particular, then do get in touch with Ben Ilsley. He'll be your contact for any queries that you'd like to make. You can always get in touch with us at VMG, and we can put you in touch with Ben or Danny or Indy if anybody has any questions, or would just like to find out a little bit more about how it all works and how it could potentially work for your practice. So huge thanks to Danny and Indy for coming on, for sharing their expertise and demonstrating the simplicity of the platform, how it could work. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday, and we will see you next time. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.